If you've never gotten the chance to jump into a car and see all that this great land has to offer, it's an experience I can't recommend enough. From the rolling hills of Blue Mountain Country to the vibrant energy of college towns and major cities, America has a little slice of splendor for all dispositions and tastes. I did that recently, and while my restaurant reviews are usually confined to a specific locale, this video offers a little bit of everywhere. Think of it like an episode of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, without the uncomfortable silence as a fat guy in a bowling shirt with bleached tips gorges himself on a 3,000-calorie cheeseburger, while the chef-owner stands awkwardly behind him, doing something between a smile and a chuckle, and nervously wondering to himself if the emergency defibrillator in the office is charged. Or an episode of Anthony Bourdain, only it won't end with my alcohol-soaked corpse dangling over a bathtub, filled with the evacuation of my last meal. So without further ado, let's see what this great nation has to offer, and let's do this shit.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, BBL Drizzy.
Our first stop on this journey takes us through the hills of western Kentucky, just a stone's throw from the Mississippi River, and the town of Wickliffe, where I simply couldn't resist the call of the name Kentucky Hillbilly Barbecue, in what could just barely be considered a building on the side of the road that housed some impressively sized refrigeration units, large-scale smokers, and some damn good street-side barbecue. We pulled over and pulled up to a menu that proudly displayed a variety of smoked meats, including something called smoked bologna. But in spite of the fact that it was just afternoon on a Tuesday, in a town whose population is less than 1,000, we were told that they were already sold out of most of the choice cuts. Brisket, ribs, all gone. Now that's not a knock against them, in fact I'd say it's a sign of quality. And if you can't find something good to eat at a barbecue joint, then that's probably a you problem. So we settled for a tray of barbecue pork, smoked turkey, some beans, slaw, and hash brown casserole. And like the fat cap on a brisket, I will now render my verdict. In previous barbecue reviews, my biggest complaint with most spots is the lack of attention to detail when it comes to the sides, like they are unworthy of much care. But I contend that sides are like the bass line that accompanies the headlining musicians. You may not always notice them until they're absent or just plain suck. Kentucky Hillbilly Barbecue pays as much attention to them as the carefully smoked and seasoned hunks of animal flesh, which made everything sing. The coleslaw, crisp and sweet with just the right amount of pepper, which is way too much. The beans, truly some of the best I've ever had. Sweet and tangy and accented by diced pepper and red onion. The hash brown casserole, good lord, it tasted like actual cheese, putting that slop from Cracker Barrel in its place. And despite having to settle on the meats passed over by the locals, we left more than satisfied. The smoked turkey was juicy and well seasoned, the pulled pork unctuous and flavorful. If I had one complaint for Kentucky Hillbilly Barbecue, it would be that their barbecue sauce is a little sweet for my taste. But that's a regional thing, I understand. Kentucky Hillbilly Barbecue is destination barbecue, plain and simple. More than worth the drive through the hills of western Kentucky, and I'm giving them an 8.4 out of 10.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, BBL Drizzy.
Past the splendor of nature and old country roads, I find myself in another of America's truly great cultural landscapes, the college town. Lexington, Kentucky, home of the Wildcats and Big Blue. And college towns make for a fascinating culinary landscape. Tucked between the Starbucks and Chipotles are a bevy of institutions vying to satiate the appetites of the half-drunk and the half-smart, pseudo-intellectuals and psychotic alcoholics in training. So let's see what we can find. If I had to pinpoint a single guiding philosophy for myself when it comes to food, it would be this. What is done best is usually what is done simply. I will always choose execution over extravagance. And I can think of few foods that embody this concept better than the humble donut. Not far from downtown Lexington, nestled between what looks like was once a factory district, you'll find Spalding's Bakery, which has been making some of the best stammed donuts you're likely to find, with zero pretension, for close to 100 years. Not decorated with bacon strips or spackled with Fruity Pebbles or Captain Crunch, Just shockingly well-crafted donuts and pastries. Now, you may notice that these donuts appear much darker than the sugar-caked Krispy Kreme abominations that leave a film on the roof of your mouth. And I think that might be due to a higher-than-most butter content in the dough, but you'd have to ask a more experienced baker. All I know is that these are tiny houses of confection perfection. Delightfully crisp on the outside, perfectly pillowy on the inside. We grabbed a bag full of these, hit the road, and after trying them I genuinely hoped beyond hope that I could express to the good people of Lexington just how special something in their own backyard truly is. An 8.6 out of 10.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, BBL Drizzy.
And speaking of hungry college kids, while in Lexington I was able to check out a dish I've long wanted to scratch off my bucket list. The famed halal plate that I've often seen praised as a staple in New York City food circles. I usually kicked around the Philly and Baltimore area, so a lot of Manhattan classics are mostly foreign to me. But I've heard many a tale about this simple street food classic that consists of rice, some gyro meat, a bunch of sauces, and a salad. Well, I finally got the chance to investigate or at least sample this street food classic at the dangerously named Naz's Halal Food. Now, this dish contains two things I'm deeply skeptical of: salads and yogurt-based sauces. But I'm happy to report I was wrong on both counts. This is a deeply satisfying and relatively inexpensive meal. The rice nicely seasoned, the gyro meat deeply flavorful, and the salad a surprisingly refreshing contrast to both. This is one of those dishes where the sauces do a lot of heavy lifting and are successful in making it all worth the price of admission, while making Naz's, a chain with more than 50 locations, a welcome venture away from most fast food joints. And I'm giving them a 7.1 out of 10.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, BBL Drizzy.
Our journey continues eastward into West Virginia, the bastard stepchild caught somewhere between the far prettier Kentucky and the far more vibrant Maryland. And the country roads winding through lush hills led us to a little slice of America known as Frametown, and our lunch destination, Minnie's Family Restaurant, a little tool shed of an establishment where our meal is serenaded by the women working there, gossiping about this or that, what regulars came in that day, what stores are having a sale, who might be pregnant, and who the father most likely is. We treat ourselves to a couple side-of-the-road classics, the club sandwich and the open-faced roast beef. And while neither sets the world on fire, it's comforting to know there are still places like this somewhere, serving classic dishes from America's gastronomic canon. A solid 6.2 out of 10.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, BBL Drizzy.
After spending the better part of 2 days traversing the vast natural beauties of Appalachia, we prepared ourselves to enter the comparatively frenetic madness that is the greater Baltimore area. And upon our arrival in the early hours of the evening, some family took us to experience The Hub. The Hub Asian Food Hall, which I could best describe as being like throwing a food court and an arcade into a blender and hoping for the best. Kiosks to order from a half dozen or so stalls, each serving some bastardized version of Asian cuisine. Korean fried chicken, teriyaki, ramen, boba tea, and cheesesteaks for some reason. And for the first time in our journey, I can honestly say that I had a meal that just flat out sucked. I settled on the Tenkatsu ramen, an old friend, and was excited to tuck into a bowl of porky goodness. Springy noodles, slices of charred chashu pork, and a deep, rich bone broth. But what I was given was, compared to the real McCoy, a bowl of nightmare. An absolute jungle of toppings, heaped on to obscure the fact that this was some of the most low-rent, piss-poor broth you'll find anywhere. I knew because I isolated a spoonful of it and found that it tasted like precisely nothing. No pork, no aromatics, a positively agnostic soup. And I'm sorry, but to put into perspective, it's like a burger that comes with every condiment you can imagine, masking the fact that the burger patty was made with ground cardboard. No amount of toppings can hide this sin. And really, that describes the Hub Asian Food Hall in a nutshell. Sound and fury, or I guess neon lights and corn syrup signifying nothing, where everything is too sweet, too bland, too anything and everything but genuine flavor. It is the picture of stereotypically bad Asian American food. and a 2.4 out of 10.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, BBL Drizzy.
If you happen to live in the UK and stumble upon this video, then I'm sorry if it disappoints you. And for any Americans that don't know what I'm talking about, Nando's is a rapidly growing casual fast food restaurant that has already conquered many parts of the world, but in particular the hearts and palates of many Londoners. The menu is about as simple as it gets: chicken. But nothing like the Colonel's or Popeyes or Chick-fil-A. It's char-grilled, mopped with an addictively spicy sauce, and grilled to seal in the flavor. This is something old school. See, when I was a kid, I remember going with my dad to the liquor store, and in the parking lot there'd be a guy in, hand to God, a tin shack, grilling chickens in a similar manner. And Nando's is bringing that back in a way that I hope to God continues to expand across America. I got a leg quarter combo with fries, and not only was it a perfect conglomeration of spicy, smoky, satisfying, it was refreshing to have fast food that didn't feel like it was actively ending my life. And the sauces, my lord, the sauces. Whether you want something garlicky, something to blow out your palate with spice, or both, Nando's has got you covered. My conclusion is that in spite of the many, many good local eats we found on this trip, Nando's, a food chain, was so damn good that it had me considering going back to the mall just to have it again. This is elite mass-produced chain restaurant food, and a 7.7 out of 10.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, BBL Drizzy.
As a proud Philadelphian to perhaps an unhealthy degree, there is a tale that follows me wherever I go. These guys make an amazing Philly cheesesteak. No, they're from Philly, so it's totally legit, trust me bro. And this tale usually ends in disappointment, because for those of us who grew up in and around Philadelphia, the platonic ideal of a cheesesteak is usually highly specific and hard to reproduce in the wild. So when someone suggested I try Cheesesteak & Company in Elk Ridge, Maryland, I was skeptical. And my reservations proved to be mostly correct, because it was about as okay a cheesesteak as you'll find outside the immediate Philadelphia area. The roll was okay and the cook on the steak was fine, but it wasn't nearly cheesy as I'd like it to be, despite it having the optimal white American cheese. Also, the employees there are kinda rude as shit, so I definitely wouldn't go back there again. Also, as an aside, I learned that I've apparently reached the age where trying to eat an entire large cheesesteak by myself will make me wish I was dead for the next 12 to 18 hours. But Cheesesteak & Company, a mid 5.8 out of 10.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, BBL Drizzy.
Still kicking around the Baltimore area, where we find ourselves in Ellicott City, an excessively charming upscale town with a lot of history, including a recent brush with a natural disaster. We made our way to Luna Hall, a local chain of Asian bistros specializing in various dishes that span several regions of China. And unlike the nightmare that was the hub, Luna Hall's varietal fare is at least tasty, but they are also horrendously overpriced. We sampled an array of dumplings and a few rice noodle dishes, which all mostly tasted fine, but we also paid through the nose for it. Luna Hall is a small regional restaurant group founded in DC and operating in the region, and your wallet can taste that corporate upkeep. It's the sort of Chinese food that tastes fine enough, but you could have found better in Baltimore's Chinatown for considerably less if you took the drive. Not bad by any means, but for the price, 6.2 out of 10.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. Oh, BBL Drizzy.
Our last stop on this tour of Americana took me to what is probably my favorite bastion in our culinary history, the Truck Stop Diner. The stainless steel beacon that sits patiently, dependably, for road-weary travelers and workers alike, in need of a proper meal and some piping hot coffee. So we ventured out to one of these last-standing monuments to the American road and ducked into a Double T Diner in Annapolis, Maryland. And as much as it pains me to report, the luster of this great American institution has mostly faded. Sure, you'll find many earmarks of past greatness. The dessert case filled with every cake and pie you can imagine, and even a few you've never heard of. The satisfyingly round-edged porcelain cups and saucers. Model 18-wheeler toys adorning the back counter. But it's all mostly a superficial charm. Lipstick on a pig, if you will. I got the pancake and eggs breakfast, the sort of meal that the third shift workers fresh from the printing plant would have and send them into a day-long coma. And it was all just variations of being okay. The eggs technically over easy, but not in that good diner sort of way. The home fries lacking the charm of coming off that flat-top potato mountain. The sausage links some amalgamation of a miniaturized bratwurst and hot dog, low quality and devoid of sage and the other seasonings that you typically find in breakfast sausage. It's disappointing to end our journey on such a low note, but perhaps it's the perfect metaphor for life itself. A seemingly endless series of deeply enriching experiences, fascinating places, and ultimately, like any journey, a culmination that can never live up to the path it took to get there. Thanks for watching.